Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Lodgify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Hi everyone, welcome to Good Morning Hospitality Europe live from the STR MeetUp in Barcelona. Hey guys, we're together.
Welcome to my hometown. It's great to see you guys.
Very exciting. Great to be here. We're kind of your old half second home, really.
Well, it's the Truvi home.
The Truvi home.
Yeah, I guess I know the streets of Barcelona fairly well. I think But as you can see, the event hasn't kicked off yet. It is going to be busy. Obviously, this is just the calm before the storm. When did you get in? When did you get to town?
Yesterday morning, myself and Louise came up, and we have had a few things to do, some venues, kind of stuff with a view to next year, some business to take care of.
We nearly got an exclusive then, didn't we? We nearly got an exclusive.
It's this tongue he wants to tell us the secret. We want the gossip. We'll get it out of him tonight after he has a few drinks.
New venue, new location. Okay, we'll get it.
Said too much.
His team begged him not to do this. They begged him not to do this. And Sarah, we're in your town. I mean, how exciting for you to walk to an event, isn't it nice?
Well, I thought I was going to bike to this event, and then needless to find out, the Ramblas are in complete construction right now.
Yeah.
So I'm like cycling down. I thought, great, I'll be going. It was a 10-minute cycle supposed to be, and I left at like 4:10. So and I got here 50-minute beta. It was an absolute nightmare.
And it's very humid.
It's welcome to Barcelona. And when I walked into this place, I was like, oh my God, there's AC. This is magical.
But I mean, obviously, I've always been so jealous of these two smug people who live by the sea, and now I, of course, live by the sea. So we've had our own heat wave. Can you see the tan, guys?
I actually can. You look.
More burn than tan.
It's going to go there. It's going to keep it light.
We don't tan
fine.
well, but the point is, we're enjoying ourselves. Yeah, it's fully in there, isn't it? Gang, I'll start, I guess, by saying very excited to be at this event, which is co-sponsored by Truvi, Scale, and of course, Good Morning Hospitality Europe. Why do we feel like it's an important thing to do? I feel like at this time, we need to band together as an industry. We need to be as one to fight all the regulation and stuff. What are your thoughts, Damian?
Oh my goodness. Well, I know you guys have spoken a lot about regulation over the past few months, and I mean, it's everywhere, isn't it? And I think it's a kind of a lonely and difficult time for many operators, isn't it, out there? And, for people to be able to just come together and just realize, hey, yeah, this is a struggle, but I don't want to sound really corny, but we're not alone. Together we have a voice, and that's not just PMs. This is service providers, associations, everybody's coming together just to see. We're stronger together, and we're a huge industry and very young industry as well, and we've got strength here too. So I think we need to do these kind of things much more often, and it's not just about coming to a conference or anything like that. It's even just a meetup. We have a couple of drinks and just see people, name to a face, and just be there for each other and just talk, just keep conversations going.
Yeah, I mean, I love a good industry event. I think it's really good. I always come away having learned a couple of things, and plus, we get to have a drink in person together. It's always fun. It's always
the best
bit. Okay, so let's get into it. What caught our eye this week was a very interesting fight that seems to be developing between TUI, good old TUI, one of Europe's finest tour operators, and good old Airbnb about who's to blame for over-tourism.
Fight.
Who wants to go first? What do we think?
You know what I think? It's the cruise ships. So nothing to do with either of them. It's all about the cruise ships. No, I think it's a really interesting debate. I think it also distracts from the problem. So I was actually kind of disappointed to see this in the news. Okay. A smear campaign, is that really the best that our industry can do? And especially, you think about Powerhouse from like Airbnb in particular, and their marketing arms. There's so many smart people. You want to get involved in this? You're going to stoop that low? It just seems, it's pathetic, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I agree.
two such huge companies, just basically saying, no, you're to blame, no, you're to blame. It's not going to get us anywhere. It's having just sensible conversations. And, as you say, there's cruise liners, there's so many other kind of organizations as well that bring people to a city. Like you think in summertime, there's festivals like all over the place as well. Nobody says, hey, festival organizers are to blame because you're bringing 20, 30,000 people to a city. Where do you draw the line in terms of what's bringing people or tourism into a city? Why is it just one, industry? There's plenty to come together to solve it. And I hasten to use the word blame because I don't think it's a blame issue. It's about just all of those organizations that contribute to numbers coming into a city, any region or village. Let's just work on why that is. Where is that pattern headed, and how can we work together, all of these different industries, just to kind of maybe control numbers and just do things a little bit more sustainably together.
I was at the Visit England Awards. Did I mention that? I think I did, didn't I? Yeah, I'm plugging that left, right, centre. I went to an award show, put a tuxedo on for the first time. Yeah, first time in my life, put a tuxedo on. Didn't win, wasn't up for an award. That's probably why
you didn't win.
So I would have won it had I been up for one. And we got to speak to one of the policymakers in Brighton. And she openly admitted that they don't have a clue how many short-term rentals there are in Brighton. And so as a consequence, I think that's that's a story that's undoubtedly going to be replicated across different local areas, certainly in the UK and definitely in Europe. So how can we even be having this conversation without proper clarification on what's a short-term rental and what's not? And that's what I'm interested in talking about is let's understand what's going on in cities so that policymakers can make smart decisions that balance local needs with like revenue generation for tourists. Then I think we're having a much more practical conversation because in preparation for coming out, the night before coming out here, we were looking at booking our holiday and we were thinking of going to just up the coast from Girona, Tossa de Mar, probably been, it'd be lovely. And then I stumbled across an article about more people getting shot with water pistols, more of that stuff going on in Barcelona and Girona. And it definitely puts you off wanting to come.
Does it? As hot as it is that a problem for you?
That's a good point, actually. It's a really good point. But, really, do the people who are making the decisions understand how many short-term rentals they've got? Because if they don't, that to me is the first step. Like, let's have a light touch, I wouldn't use a registration scheme is probably the right way to describe it. But let's be smarter and let's get data from the platform so that we can actually know what we're talking about here. Because actually, I am on the side that the economic benefit is going to outweigh the upset it causes. I think it's just political football.
I think it's also interesting when we look at property churn, for example. I think that's another thing that we have to be really careful of. When you have a municipality or a tourism organization or a local government that's analyzing how many properties are there, you have to remember this isn't like a hotel. For those that are professionally managed, absolutely. Maybe that's 20 to 30% of supply in some markets, and the other 70% plus is not on the market full time. So it's something they have to take into account. And also when you're planning to have events. So imagine you have a proposal for a festival or you put your city up for hosting a certain festival. You want to make sure you have enough accommodation. Otherwise you have a Edinburgh incident and it's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's exactly it. And to go back to this argument then between TUI and Airbnb, why are we throwing mud at each other?
Yeah.
Let's talk sensibly about it, not throw mud at one another. Plus, here we are talking about Airbnb again, so they've got themselves in the news again. And here's something I'm going to say. Are they kind of becoming the Ryanair of hospitality? Like, they don't care whether the press is negative or positive as long as their name's out there? Because it kind of does feel a bit like that, right?
They've always been the scapegoats, haven't they, in our industry? You very rarely hear Booking or Vrbo being the ones who are attacked for being to blame, which is a little bit unfair, but that's just the way it is. And I think they've got to understand that they're the biggest name in our industry anyway, so they're going to be the first ones to be scapegoated, I think, anyway. But the over-tourism thing, I think is really... It's quite fascinating because, I think especially in Barcelona, you get all these people who are, being squirted with the water or whatever because they perhaps don't look like they're, they're locals. But I'm not here as, and we're not here as tourists. We're here working for a couple of days. But yes, people could come in here and squirt us and get out of our city. Yeah. But, it's not, okay, yes, we're here. And yes, we are 3 extra people. But... we're not tourists, you know,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of, I know you've spoken about this, Sarah, in some previous pods. There's so many people who work here and live here, yeah, and maybe seasonally as well. That, you know, where is that taken into account for all these numbers, these short-term rentals, the tourism numbers? There's so much to factor in here. It's just clearly not as simple as saying there's too many people in Barcelona. That's it. It's tourism, it's short-term rentals, or it's TUI or whatever. It's so not as simple as that. And I think there's so many metrics to look at. I mean, almost impossible. But it just needs to be done in a sensible way and look at all of those metrics involved.
I think you're absolutely right, Damian. I also think we talk about this all the time on the pod. You know, I know people see me walking down the street and they think, oh my God, another tourist. Well, no, I'm not. I've been here for 15 years, but I'm not going anywhere and this is my home now. And I think in particular, when you look at a city like Barcelona or many other major European hubs, the free movement of people in Europe means that why wouldn't you live in Barcelona if you can? And you have the legal right to. And so I think those are the data points for me that are missing. How many people are here actually, as you mentioned, either for a business trip or to visit a company that they own or operate or setting up an event? How many people actually live here? Just because you're not from here doesn't mean you don't live here. And I think a lot of times what is considered over tourism, it really is just xenophobia. It's no, there's too many of them and not enough of us now. And there's more of them than us, or there's more and more every day. It's not about tourism.
And I think as the lines blur as well between whether you're working, whether you're on holiday, and the stays get longer or can get longer. What would someone like, and I think the data would suggest this as well, that like people are working for 4 days and then spending 5 days off. So they're extending their trips and kind of testing out whether it's a place they'd want to live, that the lines are blurring. We would think very differently now. In all honesty, we think very differently about putting an office in Barcelona based on what's happened in the last 6 months to a year with over-tourism, because we don't feel particularly welcome than we did when we made the decision 3 years ago. So as you say, Damian, it's not just about tourist revenue, which is trackable with what people spend in hospitality venues around the city. It's like the office space, you know, it's like, and it's the employing people in your city in tech jobs, all of that stuff that goes alongside it. Same thing for you, right? You know, you're working at AirDNA. If things were different, you might not come. You might be in Lisbon. Who knows? So, you know, it's very important to think about it. We did some data earlier in the year about Europe demand, and obviously we're looking like we're on for a really good summer. Damian, are you seeing evidence of that from your side? Are you seeing evidence of that in there? Like, Europe feels buoyant. Feels like it's going to be a good summer.
I would say I'm hearing mixed.
Oh, so I've given it positive. You're going to be bring it right. Okay, nice.
I'm hearing the struggles. Not just necessarily in the south of Spain. Look, Andalusia is a fairly safe market, and there's a lot of demand. There's a lot of supply as well. But I do keep quiet out there. Right,
Such a busy
busy here. But I know, in the UK, I know a lot of companies that are really struggling. And in the US, there's a lot of struggles as well. So I think, you know, it's maybe not as buoyant as sometimes it's made out to be. Now, I don't have, you have the figures to back this up, or not. But I'm from what I'm seeing, hearing, and speaking to property managers at our events, it's equally a struggle as it is for those who are really, you know, reaping the rewards. So I don't know.
I think you've just pointed out something that's really important for us to look at, which is while the overall market and overall stats might be up for Europe, there are many locations that have historically been booming short-term rental markets that are hurting. And I think these are the stories that we're hearing. I think if there's this juxtaposition between, okay, I've been doing this for 15 years and this has been a great business for me, and all of a sudden I'm starting to struggle now. And we're seeing a shift in maybe markets that historically weren't doing so well. The demand is skyrocketing, and those are places that are outside the major urban centers. They're in the north of Europe because it's too damn hot now. Yeah. I mean, it's June, and it's
the sweat on the brow shows
it. Is. Yeah. And we're in air conditioning. It's not working.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we are.
So I think that's a great point, right? It's a very individualized experience, and I do think that for those operators who maybe have been on this sort of high ride for a while, new regulation, changes in visitor behavior, it's all impacting for sure.
Yeah. Well, you can't deny as well, I think, that like there is this cultural shift amongst Gen Z, saying that like none of us are Gen Z, unfortunately. I wish I was.
I don't.
Which that might be enough to them.
I don't like this time.
What are you, a boomer?
I didn't even know what I was doing.
Boomer?
It's so rude because it might be true. I think there's this shift with the Gen Z guys.
I said the great period as well.
Let's go up to 60. That's what I always think about him. It really does. Keep that in. Don't edit that. Keep that in. I want that in. Gen Z, they're looking for the road less travelled. So I think we're also seeing that shift. And I think what's really interesting is in reports that we've read, I think we might have touched on it a few weeks back, the idea that for lots of Gen Z travellers, they're actually looking at hotels, not short-term rentals. And this is a really interesting trend. I don't know if you've read anything on this. It's a really interesting trend because now, I guess as an industry, we've got used to charging more. Potentially the COVID years, we've got used to charging a bit more. Nothing particularly dynamic is happening in the space. And we're losing the PR war. So you've got people going, I don't want to add to the problem that short-term rentals are causing, so I'll go and stay in a hotel. Right? And that's not necessarily come back in the other tourism problem, but it's just interesting, right?
But I also think they don't want to cook. Like, Gen Z is much more into the overall experience of the entire travel, which includes eating local cuisine, not necessarily cooking in your flat. And it's a very different kind of concept of what a holiday is. They do things that are off the beaten path, and they might spend 200 euros on a dinner somewhere because it is the best restaurant in wherever, and they don't care. So I think that's also a trend that is driving them more towards hotels, and they also like a little bit more of like the white gloves. This, from most of the research that I've read recently, like this white glove treatment. I want to make sure that there's a reception. I want to make sure that I have a concierge. I want to make sure that if I need something, there's someone there. So it's a lot more creature comforts.
I get that. And Leo, you and I have spoken about this, where sometimes we feel a bit guilty that when we travel, we're going away for 2 or 3 days. I think I've heard you say this as well, Sarah. Sometimes you just rather a hotel, somewhere you can just go, as I say, go to reception, straight up to your room and just relax. And you don't have to meet somebody, you don't have to find a lockbox or something like this. And, you know, these are perhaps the pitfalls in our industry. But one thing I'd say on that, it's actually the price of short-term rentals now. It can be so high. We've found it really difficult the last few times coming to Barcelona to get something that's cheaper than a hotel. Quite often the hotel is the cheaper option. So unless we can get a room, like an apartment with 3 bedrooms, for example, a one-off, if I come up here on my own, usually I'll stay in a hotel because it's too expensive. I think we're kind of priced out of it a little bit sometimes. And it's really frustrating. And to have seen that since COVID, the prices just go up and up and up and up. Like Barcelona, for the last couple of days, we struggled to get something under 250 euro per night.
It was cyclical.
Really, yeah.
My hotel room was 100 euros. Just for one night.
Right, yeah.
And I'm only going to use it for 10 hours, so that's the point, right?
But a lot of that as well is the regulation, right? So in Barcelona, you do have now where the Barcelona government has said, we're not renewing any licenses. The licenses are only valid for 5 years anyway. And so you do have an offboarding of at least legal supply. And there's a flooding of the market of properties that clearly have been set up as short-term rentals or as mid-term rentals. And they're all putting them up for sale.
Yeah.
Rather than what the government thought was going to happen, which of course you're just going to take a really low negative, perhaps, return on your investment and put that on long-term rental and be a good human being. That's not how life works. Sorry.
Yeah. Sarah, not surprised by that.
Not surprised at all. I do hope to take advantage of it, but I'm not in that anymore in Barcelona. I'm done. I did my rental flat, and now like every day you turn around and there's a new regulation and there's a new rule, and as an investor, it makes me scared. To continue to put money in it. So I've got my one property and that one is fine because I'm grandfathered into the old regulations, but I won't be investing here again.
Yeah. So really, right now, I think this is the case all over Europe, right? In urban areas, I think there's definitely this movement, and all it potentially does is really hand the advantage to hotels and to planners who are going to dig up more land for hotels instead of that mix of accommodation type that you might get if you think about it a different way. And I won't finish with cruise ships, but also let's not slag them off again. One more thought I had that I just wanted to talk about is there's a big fight going on right now for loyalty, customer loyalty. I think primarily driven, by AI, because I think Vrbo, Booking.com, Airbnb, they're all quite nervous about whether their guest is going to come back to them. I think we can see some of the tactics that Airbnb have used over the last couple of weeks with experiences, with how they've been talking about their change of off-platform policy. But I think we are entering a stage where someone needs to think about loyalty, because I don't think it is attracting that younger traveller. And again, we just said I don't think short-term rentals are doing enough to get Gen Z in there. And certainly no one's doing enough to get that person loyal, because it feels very old school, the Hilton, the Expedia one, you know. I don't know how thoughts.
Loyalty is old. So I don't think that that's going to work with Gen Z. I also think that the reason that they're struggling for this loyalty is an interesting phenomenon, which I call the online shopping phenomenon. So I think about like my parents. They're nervous to even buy like an airline ticket from Delta online from Delta's website and put their credit card details on there. I buy stuff relatively frequently online, but usually to pages that I know of. Gen Z, like with these people in my office, and they buy stuff off Instagram, off these pages they've never even heard of, and put their credit card details. So they're so used to spending at these like lesser known businesses that they don't need the security behind a booking or an Airbnb or whatever. They feel more comfortable booking direct. They feel more comfortable going somewhere that maybe just could review yet. Okay, fine, let's check it out. You're a lot more in tune to that idea of, okay, fine, we'll spend even if it's not secure. And I think that security is really, for me, tied into the loyalty. You become loyal because you always have a good experience, and you want the security of knowing that that experience is going to be homogeneous. And Gen Z doesn't want homogeneity? I think so.
I really like it. I like it. If we just invented a word, that's really cool.
Homogeneity, I'm pretty sure it's what we're going to look it up. We'll look this up.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add to that. I mean, like buying off Instagram and some of the social platforms that's an alien concept for me. Absolutely, they're going to show
Such a boomer. Such a boomer.
But there's so much choice now as well, in a way that you and I, the three of us, didn't have in the past. But yeah, I mean, we've never really nailed loyalty anyway in short-term rentals ever. I mean, I've been doing conferences for 7-8 years now. I've had many sessions on loyalty, how we should be approaching it, and nobody has nailed this. And if anything, Airbnb is losing their loyalty now, and perhaps a little bit self-inflicted. But it's something that we've not nailed. And I don't know whether the Marriott or Hilton is the way to go. But most operators, they're not the size. They don't have the resources anyway to have a loyalty plan or bonus scheme or something like that. So I don't know. I don't see this changing anytime soon.
I think you touched on it. You've got direct marketing in your blood. Even as you try and move away from it, as being Mr. Scale, you still got it there. I can feel it pulsating. The loyalty is to TikTok. The loyalty is to Instagram. That's the truth, right? And that's where a lot of buying journeys start, I think, and will increasingly start. I think I've nailed it. Mic drop. Mini mic drop. 3 expensive. Yeah, don't actually drop it. Cool. Okay, I think we've done it. So we're going to enjoy our night. Thanks to everyone at home for tuning in. Damian, we haven't seen you for a few weeks. What do you got going on? What's the next event off the carousel?
South Africa next month, in about 5 weeks, off to Cape Town. So, yeah, I get about 12 hours to look around Cape Town. But and a long journey down. But no, it's great to... and they're really, really vibrant crowd as well. Really energetic. So excited because it's... the only short-term rental conference in South Africa. But they're really, really excited, really proactive, and I'm really looking forward to it. About 200 PMs there, and so it's going to be fun. Yeah,
amazing. Sarah, sign us out.
Yeah, well, anyway, as always, if you've enjoyed today's episode, please hit like, share, subscribe on all of the usual social channels. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Lodgify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.